There's nothing more disappointing than seeing your favorite map get remade, but that remake ends up being a big disappointment. Throughout multiple COD Zombies games, even dating back to the first ever true sequel game, going from World at War to Black Ops 1, we've received remastered maps. Black Ops 1 remastered the original 4 maps from World at War as a pre-order bonus. Black Ops 2 was meant to remaster Black Ops 1 maps, as evident by a leak from the past couple of years showing maps like Moon fully playable in Black Ops 2's engine. Instead, what we actually received was a cheeky nod to Nocturne and Toten on Transit. Black Ops 3 featured the most famous of remakes and remasters with Zombies Chronicles, bringing back 8 fan-favorite maps from World at War, Black Ops 1, and Black Ops 2. And Black Ops 4 continued that trend by almost entirely being made up of remakes/remasters. 2 of its 4 main launch maps were Ether storyline remakes, Blood of the Dead and Classified, remade versions of Mob of the Dead, and 5 from Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 1 respectively, taking these maps and ultimately expanding on them, implementing new functionality, new features, broadening the scope of the map, and in the case of Classified, even mashing it together with another map, the starting area of Moon, No Man's Land. But one of those 2 remakes, a remake of a fan-favorite map, one that's typically ranked at the absolute top of the Treyarch Zombies mountain, most people's top 3, oftentimes their absolute favorite of the bunch, a map so well-loved and well-remembered that Treyarch would both be equally insane not to revisit it, but would also be completely out of their minds to mess with something so precious and so special. That remake being Blood of the Dead, the remake of Mob of the Dead. Now, of course, you see where this is going. They did exactly that. They messed with what a lot of folks saw as perfection. They decided to remake Mob of the Dead. Great, we get a remastered version and a new engine with updated graphics. We get to relive that awesome experience that we had 5 years earlier when the map originally came out, right? Nope. Treyarch decided perfect wasn't perfect enough. They ultimately decided to expand the map. Let's add pieces of the map that we originally scoped out when we sent the scouting team to the real-life Alcatraz. Let's build the entire island. So Treyarch expanded Mob of the Dead. Harmless, we're just getting some more open play area. That still means we've got the core of the map to play through and we can just ignore the other bits if they suck, right? We can just play Mob of the Dead and pretend like none of the rest of the new stuff is there. Or maybe the new stuff will be great. We'll love it and we'll see this as a new definitive version of Mob. The new perfect version. Because it's bigger, better, grander, it has more to do, more stuff to see, and it expands on the original. And that's what I think Treyarch expected. They added a new spawn room which had been long hinted at through lore dumps in previous games and had massive storyline implications to it, now entering Richtofen's secret lab hidden under Alcatraz Island. This is where he kept the transit crew, our Victus characters, cryogenically frozen. Surely the community is going to get excited because that means we're going to revisit the ragtag group of 4 and expand on their plotline. And by all technicality, we do that in Black Ops 4, but not until the final map, Togg der Toten, a remake of Call of the Dead, which does the exact same thing. It takes the core map, it expands on it, but ultimately the new areas are pretty much pointless outside of Easter egg main quest steps, and most folks stick to the familiar original zones they remember from the original version of the map that's being remade. Blood of the Dead does this a million times over. New spawn area, you leave it and pretty much never go back unless you're entering the Easter egg boss fight. New factory areas, you only really go there if the mystery box travels there, and because you need to flip the first power switch. New catwalk area and walkway connecting the tower region to the main prison. Again, something you only cross once, you get annoyed at because it's a narrow corridor with spontaneously spawning zombies through walls and through the floor, and you pretty much never go back to it, once again unless you're doing the Easter egg. We've expanded the back of the prison where Speed Cola used to live and now have access to the warden's house. Again, another area of the map completely unutilized for normal gameplay. Yes, you technically can go here and play this area of the map as normal if you just want to train around and move through the waves, but it's pretty much pointless to be in this area unless you're doing the Easter egg or upgrading the Blundergat. And that's another side tangent I want to go on for a second. The Blundergat. This weapon was immensely cool in Black Ops 2. It's not the most powerful thing in the world, it's not insanely overpowered like other Wonder weapons like a Thunder Gun or the Apothecan's Servant in Black Ops 3, or the bows or the staffs, but when upgraded to the Acid Gat and then Pack-a-Punched, it becomes both powerful and essentially a free monkey bomb with every shot. So it creates a unique playstyle and ultimately becomes a very helpful weapon in combination with other high round and training strategies. And in Black Ops 4, Treyarch brought this gun back. It makes sense, it's the Wonder weapon from Mob, so it should be the Wonder weapon on the Mob remake. Except in this version, they've added in a new elemental variant, the Magma Gat, alongside the Acid Gat. And that gun has been tweaked and adjusted in such a way that it now has such a massive splash damage that it's just not as good as it used to be in Black Ops 2, and pretty much doesn't make sense to run as your main Gat version. Now the Magma Gat is good. I'm not bashing the weapon itself, but it's different. It feels unnecessary. It feels like Treyarch saw the success of elemental wonder weapons in every Black Ops 3 map and decided that Black Ops 4 needed some of that. So let's take a fan favorite gun, add an elemental variant, and call it a day. Fine, but not that creative. creative. Another attempt at broadening the scope of the original but falling mostly flat, at least in my opinion. It's basically the Acid Gat but red, and now the original Acid Gat kinda sucks, so you're gonna use the new one because it's marginally better. And that's honestly the theme of most of Blood of the Dead. It's a lot of things you recognize from Mob of the Dead, but they've been tweaked in such a way that they kinda suck now. The shield becomes a massive crutch, and honestly kind of a bit of an annoyance, instead of a helpful additional layer of protection. And yes, it still does that, but now it has ghosts attached to it that you have to use to do pretty much everything on the map. Unlock certain parts of the Easter egg, unlock the Pack-a-Punch, do upgrades, get certain weapons, etc, etc. Now, a major feature of the original Mob of the Dead was the afterlife mechanic, a replacement for self-revives and quick revive, instead allowing you to become a ghost of yourself when you're downed, or when you manually choose to go into the afterlife mode to unlock parts of the map and turn on power individually for perk machines and traps. A functionality completely removed from Blood of the Dead in favor of traditional power switches placed mostly in the new areas in the map, only to incentivize the player to go to these new areas at least once per game. And the reason that I bring this up is because it feels like we lost a core part of what made Mob of the Dead unique. Blood of the Dead got cheapened down to a simple, core, traditional zombies mechanic map, and that's fine, but it feels like they've taken a bit of the heart and soul out of the original that this was remaking. And again, that's something that comes up very often throughout Blood of the Dead. A lot of the original cool things about Mob of the Dead that made the community absolutely love the map are missing from this new version. It's a remake of Mob visually, it's a demake mechanically. There's no airplane, there's no missing parts to plan your escape from the island, there's no Golden Gate Bridge with the Pack-a-Punch on it, there's no afterlife mode, there's no shocking power boxes around the map to turn on power in certain areas. These things have all been replaced by simpler, less fun ways to interact with the map. The Pack-a-Punch is now a randomly moving object, which is activated by shocking some things around the map with your new ghost-powered shield. Perks are activated with simple switches. You can't go to the Golden Gate Bridge anymore because that's removed entirely. The airplane doesn't exist on the roof. That's a Pack-a-Punch spawn location now and pretty much nothing else. It just feels disappointing. What was otherwise a hugely successful and popular map in Black Ops 2 and could have been an extremely popular faithful remaster or remake of the map in Black Ops 4 is now tarnishing the legacy of what ultimately was a lot of people's absolute favorite map of all time. You can't talk about Mob without acknowledging Blood, and you can't acknowledge Blood without comparing it back to Mob. And for what all of Blood of the Dead does right in visually remastering Mob of the Dead and giving us a very visually appealing version of the map for Black Ops 4, it does so much more wrong in snatching away the beauty of a map that's not inherently visual, but beautiful in mechanics, playstyle, and enjoyability. All that to say, I personally enjoy this map. I don't absolutely hate it like a lot of people do. It has an interesting Easter egg, albeit very tedious to complete, and on launch was extremely buggy and frustrating to discover in the first place. I think it has some charm. I think it's fun to go back and replay. I think it's mostly easy enough that anyone can truly get into it and get a decently high round. I think the gameplay mechanics of Black Ops 4 lend well to the playstyle of this map, even though they are the biggest hindrance to Black Ops 4 in itself. But I also acknowledge that this map just isn't Mob of the Dead. I completely understand why a lot of folks don't like it. All of the positives that it has, it's also trying to be something that it's not. It could be a cool map on its own if it was just the new areas, but it was marketed as a Mob of the Dead remake. It's being portrayed as Mob of the Dead Plus, an expanded, more full version of the original map, but it's not. It's really only fuller physically. These new areas are only self-serving for Easter egg main quest objectives, not to be solely enjoyed on their own for the most part. So it feels as though all of the expansion that was done pointlessly. You're shoehorned back into the original confines of Mob of the Dead no matter what, but even that area has been shrunken down and stripped down to its basics. Such cool moments that you can't relive from Mob of the Dead in Blood of the Dead. You can't go up on the roof and see the airplane for the first time. You can't crash land onto the Golden Gate Bridge anymore like you could that first time you played Mob of the Dead. You don't get to shock yourself into an afterlife box anymore. You don't get the cool lockdown sequences to get all the parts to escape the island. Instead, you get basic power switches, expanded areas that only exist for the Easter egg, and the removal of really cool and punchy new zones that made Mob of the Dead so unique. Now, I'm being overly critical myself, and I do want to acknowledge the broader community's opinion on the map. Blood of the Dead and Black Ops 4 are nearly 8 years old now. There's been a lot of time to look back on this map and the game as a whole and place your feelings about it. Threads on r/CODZombies from a few years ago place it as a beautiful tragedy. A map with so much potential, a great storyline, beautiful aesthetics, but ultimately an unpopular map in its infancy. A thread from just a few months ago pinning it against Mob, every single person agrees Mob is better, the OG is the way to go, but that Blood does have its positives. But equally so, when the map first came out, the general consensus was that it was finicky, the Easter egg was tedious and annoying, the weapons were disappointing, the Black Ops 4 mechanics were more of a burden and an annoyance rather than cool new interesting ways to play the game, and that the map could have been so much more. And it's sad to see a map that had so much potential ultimately squander that potential by not living up to the hype of the original. That's unfortunately the case for a lot of sequels and remakes, but Treyarch had a good track record for remakes and remasters up until this point. Blood of the Dead just missed that mark. So do you agree? What are your thoughts on Blood of the Dead and Black Ops 4? Do you think it did a good job of faithfully remaking the original that inspired it? And does it rank highly in your COD Zombies tier list? Or was it a letdown and it tried tried too hard to sit in the shadow of a COD Zombies giant. Let me know your thoughts, and if you like this video and this style of commentary, drop me a like and a comment and let me know if I should do more of these. That's all I've got for now, and I'll see you in the next one.